happy to be joined with the CEO, chair, and founder of Numinus, Payton Nyquvest. How are you, sir?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How about yourself?
Excellent. I know it's been a few months since we last spoke, and wow, the business obviously has really taken off. So is the industry. But most importantly, how are you doing personally, just with everything that's been going on with our world and staying safe, I hope?
Staying very safe. Yeah, thanks for asking. It's interesting times. So much exciting things happening on the industry front, which
Yeah.
we're very grateful for. But obviously, continuing to make our way through interesting times. And I think for this industry and this category around mental health, never more important really than
Yeah.
right now for for this industry to be emerging. Yeah.
Yeah. For sure. Wanted to obviously talk about the big announcement that you made this week. You've signed a collaboration agreement with the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies, otherwise known as MAPS. So you're going to be seeking approval to deliver MDA assisted psychotherapy for post-traumatic stress disorder. So how did this partnership come about?
Yeah, Maps and myself and Rick Doblin and some of the team here began speaking probably almost 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
And when we founded Numinus, it was really how can we collaborate with a lot of these not-for-profit and research groups who've done so much amazing work, and not get in the way of that, but work together, support that towards a common mission. And maps was always top of the whiteboard in terms of groups that we wanted to work with from an integrity standpoint. And obviously what they've done, they're a huge part of the reason why this psychedelic renaissance is where it is today. And to be able to partner with groups who just have the amount of experience that they
Right.
have, whether it's training of therapists and the actual carrying out of the therapies, it was obviously an easy decision for us, and really evolved out of just a lot of really great collaboration and conversation over the last couple of years. Obviously, Dr. Evan Wood, our chief medical officer, who is at the British Columbia Center on Substance Use. The British Columbia Center on Substance Use actually owned the MAPS MDMA site in Vancouver.
Right.
So there's lots of overlap there and opportunity.
I wanted to ask too, this is probably their first industry partnership. So that's obviously a monumental moment, not only for the industry, but more specifically for your company. So tell me,
Mhm.
I guess, exactly like, what does this partnership do for you to make you obviously a continued leader within the space?
Yeah, this is the first industry partnership that they've been a part of, and for us, the big focus has been seeing the way regulation is going, and seeing all this work that's being done on an FDA level to practice and make sure that everything that we're setting up from an infrastructure standpoint, especially around the clinic and the carrying out of the therapies, and our ambitions around really scaling that clinic model. We really want to make sure that it's being informed from the very beginning by the groups who are taking this through trials, right?
Right.
We can go out and set up, we can talk about popping up 100 clinics, but if they're not being informed by the groups actually helping make the regulation change, we don't want to have any missteps. We want to make sure that every dollar we're spending and everything that we're doing is being informed by what is going to be coming in terms of regulation.
Right. As the government continues to open up and listen more to what's going on, you're a CEO of a company within this industry. Obviously, we've talked about in the past, just like the current situations that we're dealing with and how mental illness is on the rise. That there's a stat you were mentioning. Probably, I forget what the percentage was, but by the time you reach the age of 40 years old, how many people was it again that would have some sort of challenge with mental illness?
Yeah, 1 in 2 Canadians will have had a mental illness by the time they're 40.
So what is the government, I guess, that's obviously an alarming stat. What do you hear every day that makes them, I guess, more receptive to the industry and how it's developing?
I think, the big thing with this industry is there's so much evidence-backed science that's being done, and again, by primarily not-for-profit research groups,
Right.
right? So it's not like there's a, a, a huge big pharma conglomerate that's been pushing a lot of this trial work to date. Now you're seeing groups like Compass and stuff like that who are getting involved with clinical trials.
Right.
But majority of the research is very clean, not for profit or academic research. And for Health Canada or the regulators to be able to go and have all of this evidence really proving the effectiveness of these medicines, and again, now looking at this glaring mental health issue that has continued to grow, and now obviously really unfortunately the growth rate is really going up. Right. Now from what we've seen, very supportive and seem to be full steam ahead.
Right. What is this? And we go back to the announcement and the partnership. What does this mean for you personally, knowing that you founded this company 2 years ago? And if somebody were to tell you a couple years later that, this is where you would be and the collaboration they'd be working with, I'm sure that would be an incredible thing to hear. And I guess here we are today. So what does it mean for you personally?
Yeah, it's a good question. This one hit a pretty soft spot for me.
Yeah.
I have a capital markets background by trade, but this industry and these steps saved my life. And we've really at Numinus gone about this, trying to do this the right way. Capital markets is always wanting more news,
Yeah.
more now. And we've really, made the efforts that we've made have always been around how do we do this in the best way possible, the smartest way possible, focusing on the outcomes for people going through this therapy. And to have a group like MAPS, who, as you said, first industry partnership, and really a really high integrity organization, to have them, not only this collaboration agreement, obviously for us, it's something that we've been screaming from the rooftops, but, they're also out, putting their sort of foot behind getting the word out about this too. So it's been really supportive, and yeah, it's a cool one for me. I'm sure. For sure.
Yeah. PTSD, a lot of it relates to, I just don't want to say it's one group, but, for sure for military veterans specifically. There's been some staggering stats regarding this, and you outlined some of this prior to us having this interview. And I wanted you kind of to share a little bit on some of the stuff that you're hearing on a day-to-day basis. And, there was a couple of months ago, the U.S. military invested as much as $30 million within this space. So obviously there's some success rates that need to be talked about more that aren't necessarily being touched on in the mainstream media space.
Yeah. I mean, it's surprising to me, MAPS was able to go out and post some of their phase 3 trial results. And don't quote me on the exact numbers, but it was somewhere between a 74 to 78% success rate, treating people with treatment-resistant post-traumatic stress disorder. So these are people who have tried every other treatment. That number is hard to fathom, really.
Right.
The next best success rates are not even close to that. And these are, as you mentioned, the population that MAPS has really been working a lot with is the veterans and veteran affairs. So, it's just incredible. And I think the thing to really highlight here too is, we're talking about curative intent with these therapies. These are not, this isn't a prescription SSRI model. This is, let's cure people and get them back living happy, healthy lives again.
What do you think that you're learning most about yourself, the company, the people that you're associated with on a day-to-day basis? Because we all have a plan when we start a business, but once you get in and there's certain things that you go through, I'm sure there's things that you can't really predict for. But here we are, a couple of years later since you founded this company. And, I guess it's a pretty broad question, but this industry is just, it's developing so quickly, is it not?
Yeah, it is. I was talking to someone earlier today, and I said, it's nice to feel a lot less crazy right now than I maybe did a year ago. Still crazy, but my crazy is being at least a little bit validated.
Yeah.
It's just incredible to see, really. And I think the thing that's really encouraging to me is, yes, we're talking about capital markets and public companies and financial interest and all that kind of stuff, but it really doesn't seem lost the importance of this work. And I think, the more we can collaborate, the more companies can come together with a common, mission in mind and work together. This is a huge, we're talking about changing the healthcare system, really. This is going to take more than, a handful of Canadian public companies to really make this happen. So the more we can collaborate, work together, and, use resources intelligently, the bigger impact we're going to be able to make.
Last thing I'll leave you with, I know a lot of companies within the space talk about research, talk about different doctors that they have and industry leaders. But what I'm learning more so is University of BC, UBC obviously is quite a bit, like it is flat out a leader within the psychedelic space. There's incredible research and doctors that have come out of that institution. And, you alluded to obviously Dr. Evan Wood. If I'm new to this industry, I'm looking at certain companies, I'd like to know, and I know you've outlined a little bit, but what are the inroads that he does on a day-to-day basis that presents opportunities for companies like yourself? Because, the word is out and there's a few companies that are leaders in the space and you are in that sentence. Mm-hmm. And I'd like to have a better idea as to what are some of the things that he does on a day-to-day basis that makes you that leader?
Yeah, I mean, having Evan Wood on board is just absolutely phenomenal for us. Evan, who is someone who has a huge amount of experience, not only with doing high quality research, but also taking that research and making drug policy change. He's done it a number of times. He has international recognition. And the huge opportunity here is we're not talking about building an entire recreational model or anything like that. We're talking about working within the system. And people like Dr. Evan Wood, who have a ton of experience working within the system, making change within the system, and have a reputation of doing that at a really high level and a really high quality and integrity level, gives us the ability to be able to pick up the phone and call, policymakers at Health Canada, right. And not only call, but them call us and ask That's us incredible. What they think, this should look like. And those conversations are going on and really, really incredible. So very excited.
Well, I want to applaud you and your team. Congrats again on the announcement this week. Keep up the great work. Obviously, your main goal and most importantly is the business will come later. But as far as the values and model that you're building out is incredible, and it's great to see the industry expanding. So, congrats, and let's keep in touch.
Likewise, yeah, I really appreciate the time and love what you guys are doing as well. So, have a very happy holidays if we don't talk before then as well.
Perfect. Thanks, Payton.